Ever thought about just getting out of bed and then seeing your car? Well, here it's possible. And I wanted to use that one as an intro for the driving review of the, look at that, the new Kia Seltos. And if you're wondering how that works, now the lift has opened. Let's get inside as straight as possible. And of course, the beeping sounds. Here, you can check out the camera system of this vehicle again. Looks good, actually good camera quality. Oh, there we see. Now the lift is already closing. Ooh, darkness. There it is. Now the front opened again. Oh, I even have a charging station on top here. That's nice. So yeah, good for electric vehicles as well. And with a nice view. And this is the lift that opens or closes then when you want to go back with the car again. And I just got my luggage out of the car, so yeah, I can directly enter the room from here. That's actually cool. There we go. Yeah, and you see, this is a special car loft review here today. Very cool, the whole setup. And here the new Kia Seltos has the EV look basically, but it is a combustion engine compact SUV and a very, very bold front. Look at that. Also with a modern daytime running light signature. And this is the GT line. You get the base levels, then the GT line or the X line with a more off-roadish look. But they are not too different. Let's take it that way. Here we have the 19-inch wheels. So as I said, the largest ones here, the smallest ones would even start at 16-inch and a length of 4 meters 43 or 174 inches. And the rear design, they have this so-called star map design, they call it that way, introduced it with their large electric SUVs. So it looks very modern and yeah, let's say rather angular. And you have more of these GT line accentuations in the lower part. It only has a torsion beam in the rear for suspension. Let's see how that one drives very soon. Then about the engines, it's about the 1.6 liter 4-cylinder turbo, and nice that we have good dampening underneath and also gas struts. There's also the engine we see here in Europe, 6-speed manual or 7-speed DCT. And this is also one we see here, 8.8 seconds in the acceleration figure, optional all-wheel drive, otherwise front-wheel drive. In other markets, you get an 8-speed automatic converter. And also interesting that soon you will get this 1.6 liter 4-cylinder as an inbuilt hybrid. So I also want to answer Toyota there. And also since VW goes hybrid also with the VW T-Roc, this will be then an answer also from the Kia Seltos. Outside Europe, you also have markets which serve the 2-liter 4-cylinder naturally aspirated engine. Here, this is the key fob, has a very nice material to it, and when you open or close the vehicle, also automatically here these door handles come towards you, and then they're actually manual. Still, I'm a friend of the handles that are out always. Then, door closing sound. Well, it's actually very solid. Let's also check out the rear for that. Also very solid, like that. Then, inside of the doors, here we have a nice structure on top, it's also soft, and you're also soft for your elbow. Plastic controls for the windows, open and close, and also straightforward, pretty cool here. Seat heating, seat cooling would flash when it's on. This is also integrated in the door here, and this is then the passenger side. And you have base fabric seats, you have fabric leatherette mix, and this one in here is the full leatherette in the GT line, also with this 2-color scheme. It's very beautiful. This has a perforation, it's also very soft, and this is then also combinable with the comfort pack, which then offers seat heating and seat cooling. That's very cool. Also, these head restraints are, by the way, very, very comfortable because they give way here a little bit. So when you lean back, that's super nice. You have this GT line here, you know, embedded right there, and is really a premium car atmosphere. Can't say it otherwise, especially from the seats. Then you have this fabric here on the dash. The top part here now is a little bit harder. Once again, a little bit more contrast there. Classic glove box in the lower part, not too small, not too large though. And then you have this middle console where you either have this very open area or you can push these bottle holders. They are also with this two-dot adaptive design right there, so they also hold the balls a little bit tighter. Than the inductive charging pad here is this rubber surface. This one, however, does not cool anything, so it might overheat things. And then we have a padded armrest. You can open that one, and more space underneath, and also a 12-volt charger. And indeed, I can confirm this is great comfort in these seats, really nice, and the head restraint is the best part of it. You can really lean back and relax, and by that you suddenly get a premium or even luxury feeling, which you usually have in cars that are double the price. And in this comfort pack, which also includes the seat cooling, then you also have one press of a button here in the lower part of the seat, and then it actually goes back, goes forward or upward a little bit in the front part, and then you can make a nice nap or something, goes back like this, and then you can really enjoy the softness of this head restraint here. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Now the cockpit overview, and I really have to start with this feature here, because these optional luxury features, look at that. Seat heating, steering wheel heating, seat cooling at the inside of the doors, and all with a separate button. I really appreciate that. Just want to show you that again in the driver's door. And then here the steering wheel in the GT line, we also have this two-color scheme. It's also a high-grade leatherette. Feels really nice, this material. No one could actually differentiate that. And contour stitching on the inside, and once again more physical dials. Drive mode in the lower part for sport, normal, eco. Then you can see here the digital instruments. They can be controlled also from physical dials here, these buttons on the inside for the consumption and so on. Left side is also for the cruise control. On the right side we have a manual volume jog, a favorite button as well, and then you can, for example, the favorite button goes, for example, here to the assistance systems that you can easily deactivate some stuff. However, what you can also do here is press and hold the volume button, and then the speed limit warning, like this EU speed chime law, is also off. And you can also reverse it again, that I can show that again to our German viewers soon. And then you can see you have this classic infotainment system, yes, and it basically does the job. Usually, yeah, the car internal GPS, let's say, is maybe not the most fancy one. That's why you would use the CarPlay integration and so on. Then you have more like another favorite button here, large buttons that you can easily press while driving, and another manual volume jog. And I really so appreciate that here. The climate unit, up and down, easily pressed while driving, fan speed, all physical. I really love that. And they do it also in their EVs. Here, USB-C charging. This is for the connecting, and this is 100 watt in the front already. Wow, that is amazing actually. And 3 USB, so yeah, you won't run out of power for your devices. The inductive charging pad here, as I said, not ventilated. That's maybe the only thing I can criticize here. Oh, they got some ambient lighting integration also in the side. Ah yeah, there's one more thing here, the gear selection. That is actually behind here, which is usually like pretty nice, start, stop, and then you forward, reverse and so on. However, if you have long legs like I do, my knee is coming very close to that. I would have to put the steering wheel higher, but that's also not convenient. So I would actually prefer then the gear shifting somewhere else, maybe more up, or then in the center console, but they wanted to keep this one here all clean. Yeah, so maybe just a little bit more up, like we know from Mercedes or something. This is here, by the way, the CarPlay integration, how it looks like. And yeah, the Harman Kardon sound system is actually also pretty decent. That's cool. Rear doors here, hardback inside. Then we have rear seat heating. We sometimes don't have that in cars that are double the price. Then also the same scheme here for the seat, dual tone, the high-grade leatherette GT line for the rear seat. So that looks pretty cool. And then the seating position, you can adjust the back part here easily. So I'm pulling a lever with my left hand, then you can make it more upright, more trunk space, or then in this would be maybe normal, but even here in this rather a relaxed position, I put the head restraint a little bit higher for that. Yeah, so it's also good comfort in the rear. And let's see about the leg room right there. So this still fits, even though I'm driving as a tall adult. More USB-C charging at the inside of the seats each, so it's also nicely hidden. Yeah, so also a nice quality here in the rear, and also The headroom 1A9, 6'2". Let's now check out the boot or the trunk. It says 540 liters. That sounds pretty large. There we go. Does it open here? Yeah, that works. And then we have a meter or 40 inches in width. And here the normal length is 90 centimeters or 35 inches. But here then the total length when the seats are folded is at 1 meter 70 or 67 inches. Here, that's also interesting. This is the cargo position where you have space then to the seat, but you could also put it more backward. So this is then the, cargo position that you can have more loading in this upper area. And what's also very notable here, that we have a lot of space underneath, and you can even here move this whole floor in a lower position. So that is possible like this, or you can also completely put it out. And interesting is that we then here have a height of 80 centimeters or 32 inches. That's pretty cool. Let's start driving the Kia Seltos. And we have here, as described earlier, the 1.6 liter 4-cylinder engine, front-wheel drive, and here with the European dual clutch transmission. Let's see about that, how that one performs. GT line steering wheel is a little bit different than from the base versions. It's a little bit thicker here in this area and looks a little bit sportier. And the material, as described earlier as well, the high-grade leatherette feels really nice. And it does give you a very natural steering feeling. You gotta say that. Sometimes it's missing with modern vehicles, but here there's no dead zone area. Very likable reaction. You also have the sport mode then. Change much in the steering? Yeah, a little bit, but just a little bit. It is still a light steering wheel, let's take it that way. Sport mode would rather turn up the RPM. That is the most significant thing that happens then in the sport mode. And there is no lamination, dual glazing or something in the windows, so we have to see how that one performs in NVH soon at the motorway. Of course, we're heading to the German Autobahn for you, since we're in Germany today. Then we always do as much Autobahn as possible. Here, also with the start-stop function, engine hops on. So far, a smooth delivery. And DCT is also smoothly shifting through the gears, so that's nice. Cannot comment on the converter automatic gearbox that other countries get. Maybe, I don't know, if we can test it maybe at another stage or someone can comment on that. For the EU speed chime law, yes, I said earlier I can press and hold this volume button here, that this one then does not appear anymore. And then we're heading to the Autobahn. We can also put in sport mode. And let's see that we can do a first very quick acceleration, like 70 to 120. Let's go. That's enough, because it was 70 to 110. Need to be safe here with the car in front of me. Yeah, you see here, it's not the largest engine, so not very spontaneous reaction, takes a while. Still, speed will be, let's say, sufficient for most cases. Lane changes here are very well executed. 16 to 19 inch, here the largest 19 inch, but when we're going through some potholes and stuff, then you do feel that you have the 19 inch. So if you want more comfort, then you would rather stick with smaller wheels. We don't have the most sophisticated suspension. At some point in this segment here, you also have to make some compromises. As I said earlier, the torsion beam in the rear, and you do feel that when you're over some transverse bumps, some potholes in the ground and so on. So there are more comfortable cars, yes, but then again, we are in this compact SUV segment, and the main point about this vehicle that it really has this nice premium interior touch. That's also something you feel while driving. It's very hot today as well. That's why I already have the seat cooling activated, for example. Very, very nice feature. That's a feature that a couple of years ago, some maybe even didn't know it existed. But it's a feature, Tesla has pushed it to the market as standard in a lot of the Model Ys and Model 3. And then more and more people got to know, oh, that's a nice feature. And once you have it once, in summertime, you never want to miss it again. That's the thing about the seat ventilation. And by the way, different. Some push the air out, some suck the air in. So basically, I always have to ask the individual product expert if someone knows. Very detailed thing, but it's also important for the comfort, actually. Or it's different then, actually. So now here, a little bit more Autobahn, lane changes, very nicely done. You feel very connected to the road actually, maybe even a little bit too much. So it gets rough from time to time. Yeah, there, for example. So yeah, because when you look at this car from the outside and the interior, you might ask yourself like, oh, what can be better actually? Yeah, as I said earlier here, the space for the knee. I always have to put my knee to the right side here of this shifting lever. I also found that the rear floor mats, they are not attached. So when I got in and out the car again after filming, then they were sliding away because I was like going in a little bit quicker. Yeah, and then the suspension, that could be more comfortable. You can rule it a little bit with the wheel choice, but that's about it actually. So yeah, these are my points to complain actually. And then here we can also easily deactivate or activate if you want the active lane keeping assist. Also super nice with the buttons and so on. Assistant systems now here, then actively keeping us in the lane. There's also a blind spot monitor available, and yeah, so far, yeah, some reactions here and there. That was a warning for interesting. This is like the recognition here for am I still here? But since I usually have the steering wheel quite low because of my torso, maybe that it probably doesn't see that I'm here because the steering wheel is blocking the top part of the sensor or something. That's interesting. Blind spot monitor here now in the side mirrors. There may be a little bit too many corrections left and right, but overall usable also here with this active feature, so that works. There's once again the thing. Let's see if we can deactivate that. Maybe driver attention warning off. So let's see. Yeah, now it's off. That's also a good thing here, that with the hotkey you can program it, you can individualize that, and then in this case then it leads directly to that menu. So yeah, that's nice to see. So one more thing I also want to test. So let's get it a little bit quicker here now. That's a nice Autobahn here, you know, like 4 lanes. Yeah, media. Okay, yeah, media, it goes directly to the CarPlay again. That's also good. And then here, when I want to change the lane, then I also have an additional blind spot monitor. So that's basically showing me in the camera image what's next to me. So this is like an additional blind spot feature. It has been introduced with Kia, Hyundai, and this is obviously like the semi-autonomous lane change. That is very well executed, gotta say that. That was cool. So also giving you modern assistance systems here in the Kia Seltos. At 120 kilometers an hour, it's not super loud, but it's also not super silent. So I would say NVH here at these speeds, average. Yeah, as I said, not bad, but also not on the top level. I would say like here 114, it's like 70 miles now or something, is still a nice traveling speed. Focusing on the comfort of the seats, definitely this is what makes it. Yeah, that head restraint though, right? This is so nice and comfortable. I really love that. And steering feel, as I said, very good. So overall, yes, you cannot expect the most sophisticated suspension, but considering the whole package of the vehicle, it still does deliver. We'll also soon keep you updated with the fuel economy here for today, with a nice mix of motorway and some countryside and city driving that you can get a very realistic value. And the fuel economy on our route here today, when you do predominantly like 100, 120 kilometers an hour on the motorway, something like that, and some countryside and city share, you can go with about 7 liters on 100 kilometers here with this non-hybrid engine. That's about 34 mpg US, 41 mpg UK. Pricing the entry level at this moment at 34,000 euros, and then if you go like this, GT line, top spec, and if you also go for the all-wheel drive trim, which we didn't have today, then you could go up to about 47,000 euros. Tell me what you think about the Kia Seltos. Overall, I think a very nice package here in the compact SUV combustion engine segment, and you should check out some competitor videos.